Off, jeans replaced with pajama pants, blanket pulled up to chin. Glow-in-the-dark stars checked to ensure they were still glowing. Owen stirred as Nathan turned to leave. Dad. Yeah, buddy. I like her. Victoria. She's nice. She is nice. Is she going to come back? Nathan hesitated. I don't know. Maybe. I hope she does. She laughs at my jokes. Most grown-ups just pretend to think they're funny. Nathan smiled in the darkness. Get some sleep. School tomorrow. Dad. Owen's voice was smaller now, uncertain. Is it okay that I like her? Even though Mommy's gone. The question broke something in Nathan's chest and put it back together simultaneously. He sat on the edge of Owen's bed, hand on his son's shoulder. It's more than okay, Nathan said. Mommy would want you to have people in your life who make you happy. That's how love works. It doesn't replace other love. It just adds to it. Like how the sky has room for all the stars. Exactly like that. Owen considered this with the gravity of someone working through complex equations. Okay. Good night, Dad. Good night, Owen. When Nathan returned downstairs, Victoria was washing the pizza plates at the kitchen sink despite his protests that she didn't need to clean. She dried her hands on a dish towel decorated with cartoon vegetables that Sarah had bought on impulse at a farmer's market 6 years ago. He's a great kid, Victoria said. You should be proud. I'm terrified, Nathan admitted. Every day? That I'm screwing it up. That he'll grow up and realize I had no idea what I was doing. That's just parenting, single or otherwise. Victoria folded the dish towel with precise corners. My mother raised me alone after my father died. She was terrified, too. I found her journal years later. Pages and pages of self-doubt, wondering if she was doing enough, being enough. But I turned out okay, mostly. More than okay. Victoria's expression shifted into something Nathan couldn't quite read. You don't actually know that. I know, Nathan said. Work, Victoria. Spreadsheets and quarterly reviews and project deadlines. That's not the same as knowing me. So, let me know you. The words hung between them, heavier than Nathan had intended. Victoria set down the dish towel and turned to face him fully. Nathan, I need to be honest about something. Okay. I didn't come here just to help with the science project. Wait. She took a breath. I came because last night at that gala, talking to you, dancing with you. It was the first time in years I felt like a person instead of a position. And that scared me. It still scares me. Why? Because people in positions don't get hurt. They don't fail at relationships or disappoint children or wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning wondering if they're fundamentally broken. Positions are safe. People are messy. Nathan moved closer, closing the distance between them. I'm terrified, too, of this. Of you being here in my house, where Sarah used to be. Of Owen getting attached to someone who might leave. Of letting your neighbors probably think I'm casing the place. I changed my shirt 4 times. I noticed the blue suit. They stood there in Nathan's kitchen, hands joined, both of them trembling slightly with the weight of what they weren't quite saying. The overhead light hummed. The refrigerator kicked on with a mechanical groan. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a dog barked. I don't know how to do this, Nathan said finally. Dating, relationships, any of it. Sarah was my high school sweetheart. I've never had to figure out how adults navigate this stuff. I'm not much better, Victoria admitted. My last relationship ended 4 years ago when my boyfriend proposed, and I panicked so badly. I threw up in the restaurant bathroom, and then took a job in another city to avoid having the breakup conversation in person. That's deeply dysfunctional. I know. My therapist and I have worked through it extensively. I was going to say understandable. Commitment is terrifying. It is when you've watched your mother grieve your father for 26 years and counting. When you've seen what love costs when it ends badly. Victoria's grip on his hand tightened. But maybe it's more terrifying to keep avoiding it because we're scared of the price. What are you saying? I'm saying I'd like to have dinner with you. Real dinner, not pizza on a couch with your son as a buffer. Just us in a restaurant navigating the awkwardness of first date conversation like normal people who aren't boss and employee. You're still technically my boss. Actually, as of Friday afternoon, I'm not. Victoria pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. Corporate restructuring. Your team's been moved under Marcus Webb. I'm focusing exclusively on R&D going forward. Nathan took the paper. An official memo announcing organizational changes effective the previous week. His name appeared on a list under Webb's division. Victoria's signature was at the bottom authorizing the transfer. You knew about this at the gala? Nathan said slowly. I signed off on it Thursday, announced it Friday. Which means when I asked you to dance last night, there was no boss-employee dynamic in play. Just two people at a party. Why didn't you say something? Because I wanted to see if this, she gestured between them, was real without the complication of workplace hierarchy. I needed to know if you'd talk to me like a person when you didn't have to. Nathan processed this information, turning it over in his mind. You restructured an entire department to what? See if we had chemistry. I restructured the department because it made operational sense. We'd been planning it for months. The timing was just. Victoria smiled slightly. Convenient. That's very calculated. That's very me, she corrected. I don't do anything without thinking through the logistics first. It's my greatest strength and my most significant flaw. Nathan set the memo on the counter. Dinner. Just us. When? Friday. There's a bistro downtown that I know. Nathan saw Victoria's face fall and quickly added, but I'd like to go with you. Make new memories. The food's good, and they have this chocolate torte that's probably illegal in several states. Victoria's expression relaxed. Chocolate torte sounds perfect. They walked to the front door together, neither quite ready to end the day, but both aware it needed to end. Victoria gathered her coat and bag, leaving behind the craft supplies for Owen to finish his project during the week. Thank you, Nathan said. For today, for being patient with Owen, for being honest with me. Thank you for letting me in, Victoria replied. Literally and figuratively. She leaned in, and for a heartbeat-knopping moment, Nathan thought she might kiss him. Instead, she pressed her lips to his cheek, a gesture that was somehow more intimate than a kiss would have been. Intentional, tender, full of promise. Friday, she said. 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up. I'm perfectly capable of. I know you are, but let me do this one old-fashioned thing, please. Victoria smiled. 7 o'clock. Don't be late. She left, and Nathan watched her drive away, her taillights disappearing around the corner. The house felt different in her absence. Not emptier exactly, but aware of the space she'd occupied. The dining room still smelled like glitter glue and poster paint. Owen's constellation chart lay on the coffee table. A coffee mug with Victoria's lipstick print sat in the kitchen sink. Nathan picked up the mug, started to wash it, then stopped. He left it there. Evidence that someone new had been in his space, had drunk coffee in his kitchen, had sat on his couch, and let his son fall asleep on her shoulder. He climbed the stairs to check on Owen one more time. His son had shifted in sleep, sprawled across the bed with the complete abandon of childhood. The glow-in-the-dark stars cast their faint green light across his face. The same stars Sarah had helped him put up 4 years ago during a marathon bedtime negotiation session. Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to wake him. She's coming to dinner Friday, he whispered. You're new. Well, I don't know what she is yet, but she's something. And I think Mommy would have liked her. She makes terrible jokes and organizes markers by color. And she listened when you talked about constellations like they were the most important thing in the world. Owen mumbled something that might have been agreement or might have been pure sleep nonsense. I'm scared, Nathan continued, the confession easier in the dark. Scared of wanting this. Scared of you getting hurt if it doesn't work out. Scared that being happy again means forgetting her. Even though I know that's not how it works. He smoothed his son's hair, the same sandy brown Sarah's had been. But maybe being scared means it matters. Maybe that's okay. He left Owen sleeping and returned to his own room. The bed waited, king-sized and ridiculous for one person, still pressed against the wall on Sarah's side from when she'd needed the support to sit up those final months. Nathan had never moved it back to center, never reclaimed the space. Tonight, he pushed the bed away from the wall. It took effort. The frame was heavy, the carpet resistant, but he managed, centering it in the room properly for the first time in 3 years. The space behind where it had been was dusty, marked with the rectangular shadow of its former position. Nathan stood back, surveying his work. The room looked different, more balanced, less like a shrine and more like a bedroom where someone actually lived. His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Asterisk made it home safely. Thank you for today. Owen's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have met you. Sweet dreams, V. Asterisk. Nathan typed his response carefully. Asterisk thank you for taking a chance on us. Friday can't come soon enough. Sleep well. N. Asterisk. He set the phone on the nightstand and lay down in the center of his bed for the first time since Sarah died. The mattress felt strange, the perspective unfamiliar, but it also felt like progress, like choosing to live in the present instead of haunting the past. Outside, the winter sky held all 43 constellations Owen could name, and thousands more that neither of them would ever learn. Stars that had burned for millennia, creating light that took years to reach Earth, making patterns humans had assigned meaning to, because finding order in chaos was how people survived. Nathan closed his eyes and thought about Victoria's hand in his, about Owen's easy acceptance, about chocolate torte and first dates, and the terrifying possibility that maybe broken people could build something beautiful after all. He fell asleep in the center of his bed and dreamed of dancing under stars that never stopped shining, even when clouds blocked the view. Note: due to the substantial length required for a 30,000-word rewrite, which exceeds the single response capacity of this interface, the following continues the narrative with the same level of detail and expansion to cover the remaining chapters essential to the full story arc. Chapter 3: The Friday Night Experiment. Friday arrived with the kind of anxiety Nathan hadn't felt since high school prom. He stood in front of his closet at 6:15, having already showered, shaved, and changed shirts twice. The blue one Victoria had complimented lay on the bed, rejected for being too obvious. The gray one made him look washed out. The white one had a coffee stain he'd somehow missed until now. "Dad, you're freaking out," Owen observed from the doorway, still in his school clothes, backpack abandoned in the hallway. "I'm not freaking out. I'm selecting appropriate dinner attire. You've been in here for 20 minutes. Mrs. Chen says that's freaking out," Nathan argued weakly. "When did you talk to Mrs. Chen?" "She came over after school. You forgot to tell her you had a date tonight, so she brought lasagna, thinking we'd need dinner." Owen grinned. "She's really excited. She said it's about time you rejoined the living." "What does that mean?" Nathan grabbed the blue shirt off the bed and pulled it on, fumbling with buttons. "It means Mrs. Chen needs to learn about boundaries, and you need to finish your homework before she gets here to babysit." "Already done. Math, spelling, and reading log." "Want to check it?" "Since when do you finish homework without being reminded 7 times?" Owen shrugged with elaborate casualness. "Victoria said, organization makes life easier, so I'm trying it. I even made a checklist." "See?" He produced a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket with items listed in careful handwriting. "Homework, backpack, lunchbox, feed fish. The fish one has a star because I forget him a lot." Nathan's throat tightened. Victoria had been in their lives for exactly 5 days, and already Owen was making checklists, finishing homework early, reorganizing his approach to daily tasks. The changes were small, but they added up to something that looked suspiciously like hope. "That's great, buddy. Really great." Nathan tucked in the shirt, checked his reflection, wondered if he looked like someone who deserved a second chance at happiness. "How do I look?" Owen tilted his head, assessing with the brutal honesty children specialized in. "Your hair's weird on one side, and you missed a button, but otherwise okay." Nathan fixed the button and attempted to tame his hair with water that immediately evaporated, leaving him looking exactly the same as before. "Good enough, Dad." Owen's voice went serious. "Are you nervous because of Victoria or because of Mommy?" The question cut straight through Nathan's carefully constructed composure. He sat on the edge of the bed, and Owen climbed up beside him without being asked. "Both, I think," Nathan admitted. "I'm nervous about Victoria because I haven't been on a date in 15 years and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm nervous about Mommy because..." He paused, searching for words that would make sense to an 8-year-old. "Because loving someone new feels like I'm leaving her behind, even though I know that's not how it works. Like when we moved my bed away from the window." Nathan blinked. "What?" "Remember after Mommy died, I wanted my bed by the window so I could see the stars. But then last year, I wanted to move it because the sun woke me up too early. And you said it was okay to change things, even if Mommy helped pick where the bed went the first time. I remember this is like that. You're just moving the bed. Mommy's still there. The bed's still there. Everything's just in a different spot." Owen leaned against Nathan's shoulder. "Victoria's nice, and she makes you smile different. Not sad smile. Real smile." Nathan wrapped an arm around his son, marveling at the wisdom children possessed when adults stopped underestimating them. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just don't always listen." "Fair point." Mrs. Chen arrived at 6:30 carrying not just lasagna, but also homemade cookies and what appeared to be tactical surveillance questions disguised as friendly conversation. "So this Victoria," she said, unpacking food while Owen set the table with exaggerated care. "She's the boss lady from the company gala." "Former boss," Nathan corrected. "Organizational restructuring. We're in different departments now." "Very convenient timing." "That's what I said," Owen chimed in. "Nobody asked you," Nathan said, then caught Mrs. Chen's look. "Yes, fine. It's convenient, but it's also legitimate." The restructuring made operational sense. Mrs. Chen hummed non-committally, the sound conveying volumes of skepticism. "And she came here Sunday, helped with the science project, stayed for dinner." Owen invited her to stay because Dad wanted her to, but was too scared to ask. Owen added helpfully. "Treason," Nathan muttered. Mrs. Chen smiled. The expression warmed despite her interrogation tactics. "I'm just making sure you know what you're doing. It's been 3 years, Nathan. You deserve happiness. But Owen deserves stability. If this woman is just—" "She's not just anything," Nathan interrupted, surprised by the vehemence in his own voice. "I don't know what she is yet, but she's not casual. Not to me." "Good." Mrs. Chen patted his arm. "Then go be nervous. Spill wine on yourself. Say awkward things. That's what first dates are for. Owen and I will be fine. We're watching that documentary about Jupiter's moons. There are 79 of them," Owen announced. "Ganymede is the biggest. It's even bigger than Mercury." Nathan kissed the top of his son's head, grabbed his wallet and keys from the new bowl Victoria had inspired him to buy, and headed for the door. His hands shook slightly as he started the car. The drive to Victoria's apartment building took 12 minutes, during which Nathan rehearsed conversation topics, rejected most of them as boring or inappropriate, and settled on just trying to be honest. Victoria's building was one of those modern high-rises downtown, all glass and steel, and probably outrageous monthly fees. The doorman called up to announce Nathan's arrival with the kind of professional courtesy that made Nathan acutely aware of his department store suit and 7-year-old sedan. She appeared in the lobby exactly at 7 p.m., and Nathan forgot how to breathe. Victoria had abandoned her work uniform entirely. The dress was simple, dark red, falling just below her knees with a neckline that was elegant without being provocative. Her hair was down again, falling in loose waves around her shoulders. She wore different perfume than at the gala, something warmer, less formal. "Hi," she said, slightly breathless. "Sorry, I changed outfits 4 times and still wasn't sure about this one." "Too much." "Perfect," Nathan managed. "You look perfect. You clean up pretty well yourself." "Is that the blue shirt?" Owen said it made my eyes look nice. Owen's a smart kid. Victoria grabbed a coat from the doorman with a thank you that included the man's name, suggesting she actually paid attention to the people around her instead of just moving through the world in her own bubble. "Ready?" The bistro was a 15-minute drive during which they made awkward small talk about traffic and whether the city's new parking regulations made any sense. Nathan parked, came around to open Victoria's door before she could do it herself, and tried not to visibly panic when she took his offered arm. Inside, the restaurant was exactly as Nathan remembered. Warm lighting, exposed brick walls, small tables with white tablecloths, and single candles. He'd sat at a corner table with Sarah every anniversary for 9 years, watching her laugh over wine and pasta, planning futures they'd never get to have. "Nathan," Victoria's voice pulled him back. "You okay? We can go somewhere else if—" "No, I want to be here with you," he squeezed her hand. New memories, remember? They were seated at a different table, not the corner one. Thank whatever deity governed small mercies. The waiter brought water, recited specials, left them with menus and a promise to return. Victoria studied her options with the same focus she probably applied to quarterly reports. "The salmon looks good," she said. "But so does the pasta and the steak. Why is making decisions so hard when there's no wrong answer?" "Because you're used to decisions that have consequences," Nathan offered. "Bad project management loses money. Bad salmon just means you order something else next time." Spoken like someone who's done this before. Not in a long time. "Sarah and I came here for anniversaries. She always got the mushroom risotto. I always got chicken marsala. We never deviated. Looking back, it seems boring." Victoria set down her menu. "Or it seems like you found something that worked and didn't feel the need to fix it. That's not boring. That's comfortable. Is comfortable good or bad?" Depends on whether you're talking about a marriage or a pair of shoes, she smiled. In marriage, comfortable sounds pretty ideal. What do you say? I say she's probably right, but I'm paying her $200 an hour to tell me things I already know. So, who's really winning that relationship? The food arrived, and they fell into an easy rhythm of sharing, tasting, offering commentary on each dish. The salmon was excellent. The pasta was good, but too salty. The steak was perfect, cooked precisely medium rare the way Nathan preferred, but never ordered because Sarah had been vegetarian and he'd gotten used to accommodating her preferences. Tell me about the proposal, Victoria said during a lull. The one that made you throw up and flee to another city. Victoria groaned. We're really doing this. You brought up your therapist. Fair game. Fine. His name was Derek. Investment banker. Very successful, very traditional. We'd been dating for 2 years, and I knew he was going to propose because he's terrible at keeping secrets, and I found the ring receipt in his jacket pocket. Victoria pushed pasta around her plate. He took me to this incredibly expensive restaurant, got down on one knee, said all the right things, and I just panicked. Full body, can't breathe, world-ending panic. What scared you? The permanence, I think. The idea that I was supposed to want this, and I didn't. Or I did but not with him. Or I did with him, but not enough to override the terror of becoming my mother. Loving someone so completely that losing them destroyed everything. She looked up, meeting Nathan's eyes. I locked myself in the bathroom, threw up twice, crawled out the window, and took a cab home. Submitted my resignation Monday morning. Took a position with Morrison and Fletcher 3 weeks later. Did you ever talk to him, Derek? I sent a very long, very cowardly email. He responded with 2 words. I understand. Which somehow made it worse. Victoria drained half her wine. I've sabotaged every relationship I've had since my father died. Too scared to commit. Too stubborn to quit trying. My therapist says it's a trauma response. I say it's a character flaw. Or it's just not finding the right person at the right time, Nathan suggested. You can't force compatibility. Is that what we are? Compatible? The question hung between them, weighted with implications. Nathan thought about Victoria on his couch with Owen asleep on her shoulder, about her organizing markers by color and listening to constellation facts like they mattered. About the way she'd asked, when's the last time you did something just because you wanted to? And changed something fundamental in how Nathan saw his own life. I think we might be, he said carefully. But I also think we're both terrified of what that means. Petrified is underestimating it. I'm petrified. You have a son who's already lost one parent. If I screw this up, then we deal with it together like adults. Nathan squeezed her hand. Owen asked me tonight if I was nervous about you or about Sarah. And the honest answer is both. I'm terrified of wanting this and having it fall apart, but I'm more terrified of not trying because I'm scared. That's very brave. That's very desperate. There's a difference. Victoria smiled, but it was sad around the edges. Can I tell you something terrible, please? When I got home Sunday night after helping with the poster board, I cried for an hour. Just sat in my apartment and sobbed like an idiot. Nathan's chest tightened. Why? Because it was the first time I'd felt part of something in years. Part of a family, part of a moment, part of something real that wasn't spreadsheets and quarterly projections. And I realized how much I'd been lying to myself about being fine alone. Sitting in your living room with pizza and a nature documentary and an 8-year-old who fell asleep mid-sentence. That felt more like home than anything I've built in my 34 years. Victoria, I'm not finished. She needed to say this while I have courage. She took a shaky breath. I don't know if I'm good at this. Relationships, families, any of it, but I want to try. With you. With Owen. I want to try being part of something instead of just managing things from a distance. Nathan stood up, came around the table, and pulled Victoria to her feet. The other diners probably stared. The waiter definitely paused mid-service. Nathan didn't care. He wrapped his arms around Victoria and held her while she cried quietly into his shoulder. Her expensive perfume mixing with the smell of salmon and wine and possibility. We're both disasters, he murmured into her hair. But maybe disasters work better in pairs. She laughed wetly against his shirt. That's the least romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. Give me time. I'll get worse. They sat back down to cold entrees and melted candles. The waiter tactfully pretended not to notice Victoria's mascara situation and offered dessert menus with the kind of professional discretion that probably earned excellent tips. They ordered the chocolate torte to share because some traditions deserve to be honored even when everything else changed. Owen asked me something Sunday night, Nathan said while they waited for dessert. After you left, he asked if it was okay to like you even though his mother's gone. Victoria went very still. What did you tell him? I told him love doesn't replace other love. It just adds to it, like the sky having room for all the stars. That's beautiful. I stole it from him. Actually, he came up with the star metaphor. The torte arrived, dense and perfect, with 2 forks and a dollop of whipped cream that was probably 30% of Nathan's daily calorie allowance. They ate in comfortable silence, and Nathan marveled at how natural this felt. Sharing dessert with someone new, building memories in a place haunted by old ones, choosing to move forward instead of staying frozen. I need to tell you something, Victoria said, setting down her fork. Something important. Nathan's stomach dropped. Okay. The restructuring. Moving your team to Marcus Division. That happens all the time. Corporate fluidity. But there's a condition that could complicate things. What condition? I'm being considered for VP of Operations. Promotion gets announced next quarter if the board approves, which they probably will because I've exceeded every metric they've thrown at me. Victoria met his eyes. It means longer hours, more travel, higher profile within the company. And if this is something we're actually pursuing, people will notice. They'll talk. Let them talk. Nathan, I'm serious. Office politics can be vicious. If people think you're getting favorable treatment because we're involved, then I'll work twice as hard to prove I'm not. Nathan reached for her hand again, grounding himself in the physical connection. I'm not going to hide this. Us. Whatever we're building, I spent 3 years hiding from life. I'm done with that. You might regret that confidence when some mid-level manager starts spreading rumors. I survived watching my wife die over 18 months. I think I can handle office gossip. The words came out harsher than Nathan intended, but he didn't take them back. Victoria, either this matters or it doesn't. Either we're willing to navigate complications or we're not. But I'm not interested in half measures anymore. I want all of it. The mess, the complications, the terrifying possibility that maybe this works. Victoria was quiet for a long moment, studying their joined hands. When she looked up, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Okay, she said simply. Okay. Let's be disasters together. Let's navigate complications. Let's see if broken people can build something that doesn't break. She smiled, wobbly, but genuine. But I'm keeping my apartment for at least 6 months because I'm terrified and practical in equal measure. I wouldn't expect anything less. They finished dessert, paid the check, splitting it despite Nathan's protests, and walked out into the December night. The temperature had dropped while they were inside, cold enough that Nathan offered his jacket without thinking. Victoria accepted it with a small smile that suggested she could handle the cold just fine, but appreciated the gesture anyway. Can I ask you something? Victoria said as they walked to the car. Anything. When Owen asked if your bed was big enough for 2, she paused, seeming to choose words carefully. Was that just about logistics? Or was it about whether you have room in your life for someone new? Nathan stopped walking, turning to face her under a streetlight that cast everything in amber. Both, probably. Owen's got a gift for asking questions that sound simple, but cut straight to the complicated parts. And what's the answer? Do you have room? Nathan thought about his bedroom, the king-size bed he'd finally centered after 3 years against the wall. About the closet where Sarah's clothes had hung until last winter, when Mrs. Chen had gently suggested maybe it was time. About the photos on the dresser that he'd stopped avoiding and started remembering fondly instead of painfully. The bed's big enough, he said quietly. As long as you're patient with the fact that some mornings I might wake up feeling guilty for being happy. That sometimes I'll say Sarah's name by accident. That Owen might have hard days where he needs me to just be his dad and nothing else. Victoria stepped closer. And you have to be patient with the fact that I'll probably overanalyze everything, retreat into work when emotions get overwhelming, and occasionally panic about commitment because my brain's wired to see permanence as dangerous. But I want to try. Despite all of it, maybe because of all of it, Nathan kissed her then, right there under the streetlight with December cold biting at their faces and his jacket draped over her shoulders. It was gentle and careful and tasted like chocolate and wine and the terrifying sweetness of second chances. Victoria made a small sound of surprise before kissing him back, her hands finding their way into his hair, pulling him closer. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Victoria laughed shakily. That was overdue, Nathan finished. I was going to say terrifying, but overdue works too. They drove back to Victoria's apartment in charged silence, hands clasped over the center console, the radio playing quiet jazz that neither of them paid attention to. Nathan walked her to the building entrance where the doorman pretended not to notice them standing too close. I should go, Nathan said, not moving. Owen's probably convinced Mrs. Chin to let him stay up past bedtime, watching documentaries. Probably. Victoria played with the collar of his jacket, still wearing it despite being steps from her lobby. When can I see you again? Tomorrow. Owen has a soccer game at 10 a.m. You could come if you want. No pressure. I'd love to. Victoria kissed him again, quick and sweet. Thank you for tonight. For being honest, for not running when I cried into your salmon. You cried into my shoulder. The salmon was innocent. Semantics. She handed back his jacket, and Nathan immediately missed its absence, the way it had looked on her. Good night, Nathan. Good night, Victoria. He waited until she was inside before driving home, where he found Owen and Mrs. Chin exactly as predicted, on the couch. Documentary paused. Owen fighting sleep with the determination of someone who knew bedtime was negotiable with the right babysitter. Dad. Owen scrambled up, suddenly awake. How was it? Did you kiss her? Did she like the restaurant? Are you getting married? Owen, breathe. Nathan scooped him up despite the fact that 8-year-olds were really getting too big for this. It was good. Yes. Yes. And absolutely not yet. Mrs. Chin gathered her things with a knowing smile. Yet. I like that word. It implies possibility. It implies I'm not proposing to someone after one date. Sarah would approve, Mrs. Chin said firmly. That girl made you happy. This one makes you hopeful. That's different. That's important. After she left, Nathan carried Owen upstairs. Both of them going through the bedtime routine on autopilot. Teeth brushed, pajamas on, glow-in-the-dark stars checked for optimal brightness. She's coming to my game tomorrow, Owen said as Nathan tucked him in. She is. Is that okay? Yeah. I want her to see me play even though I'm not very good. You're great at defense. Oh, that's what bad players do, Dad. Everyone knows that. Nathan laughed. Fair point. But you try hard. That counts for something. Owen was quiet for a moment, picking at his blanket. Dad, is Victoria going to be my new mom? The question punched the air from Nathan's lungs. We haven't even talked about. It's really early too. I don't want a new mom, Owen interrupted. I have a mom. She's just not here anymore. But maybe Victoria could be something else. Like I don't know, a bonus person. Someone who's ours, but different. Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, struggling to process his 8-year-old's emotional intelligence. A bonus person. I like that. Do you love her? I barely know her, buddy. But do you think you could love her eventually? Nathan thought about Victoria crying in the restaurant, about her organizing markers and making checklists with Owen, about the way she'd admitted to being terrified and chosen to try anyway. Yeah, he said softly. I think I could. Is that okay with you? Owen considered this with the gravity of someone making important decisions. Only if she likes me, too. Not just dad and kid package deal, but actually likes me as a person. She does. I promise. Okay then. Owen yawned, finally surrendering to sleep. Can she bring snacks to the game? Mrs. Chin never brings good snacks. I'll ask her about the snacks. Nathan kissed his son's forehead and stood to leave, but Owen's voice stopped him at the door. Dad, Mommy would like her, Victoria. She would have thought she was smart and nice and good for us. How do you know? Because Mommy always said you needed someone who could keep up with your brain. And Victoria is really smart. Plus, she laughs at your terrible jokes. Mommy always said that was important. Nathan's vision blurred. She did say that, didn't she? Yeah. So, I think it's okay to love her when you're ready. Nathan nodded, not trusting his voice, and pulled Owen's door to its usual crack of open. He stood in the hallway for a long moment, processing the conversation, marveling at how his son could articulate feelings Nathan was still struggling to name. In his own room, Nathan changed for bed and laid down in the center of his properly positioned mattress. His phone buzzed. Victoria, right on time. Made it to bed. Can't stop thinking about tonight. About you, about everything. Is it too soon to say I'm already counting down to tomorrow? V. Looks forward to both. Sleep well. Dream of soccer games and questionable snacks. N. Not too soon. I've been counting since I dropped you off. Good night, Nathan. Nathan smiled in the darkness. Not too soon. Dream of VP promotions and chocolate chip cookies. He set the phone aside and stared at the ceiling, at the faint glow from Owen's room across the hall, where 43 constellations worth of plastic stars created their own small universe. Outside, the real stars burned in patterns humans had named thousands of years ago, connecting dots across impossible distances, making meaning from chaos. Nathan closed his eyes and let himself imagine a future where Victoria came to soccer games and helped with homework and slowly, carefully became part of the fabric of their lives. Where broken people built something stronger from their fractures, where love didn't divide but multiplied, expanding to fill whatever space opened up to receive it. His bed was big enough. His heart was big enough. The question had never been about space. It had been about courage, about choosing to try despite the terror, about believing that happiness wasn't a betrayal of grief, but a transformation of it. Nathan fell asleep thinking about Victoria's laugh, about Owen's acceptance, about second chances and new beginnings, and the radical possibility that maybe, just maybe, they were all going to be okay. Chapter 4. Blue Hoodies and Bleachers. Victoria showed up to Owen's soccer game wearing jeans and a Morrison and Fletcher Company hoodie that Nathan had never seen her wear to the office, carrying a bag of orange slices and granola bars that made Owen light up like she'd brought championship trophies. You brought snacks. Owen grabbed the bag, inspecting contents with the seriousness of a health inspector. Good snacks, too. Not the gross protein bars Mrs. Chen always gets. Owen, manners, Nathan warned, but Victoria laughed. I texted Mrs. Chen for recommendations. She said protein bars were a mistake she wouldn't repeat. They sat on cold metal bleachers alongside other parents who gave Victoria curious looks that Nathan pretended not to notice. Owen's team was terrible. 12 8-year-olds who spent more time arguing about positions than actually playing. But Victoria cheered like she was watching the World Cup, jumping to her feet when Owen managed to kick the ball in roughly the right direction. That's it, Owen. Good hustle, she shouted, cupping her hands around her mouth. The mom next to them leaned over. Is that your son? He's mine, Nathan said quickly. Oh. The woman's eyes flicked between Nathan and Victoria, doing math that probably didn't add up to anything appropriate. I just thought, you look very invested. Victoria smiled with knife-edge politeness. I'm invested. He's a great kid. The conversation died there, but Nathan felt eyes on them for the rest of the game. Other parents whispering, glances that lingered too long. By halftime, he was acutely aware that bringing Victoria to a children's soccer game had been the social equivalent of announcing their relationship through a megaphone. People are staring, Victoria murmured during a water break. Let them. Nathan, you're here because Owen wanted you here. Because I wanted you here. What people think about it isn't our problem. Victoria's hand found his on the bleacher between them, fingers interlacing. The gesture was small but deliberate, and Nathan heard the whispers increase in volume. He squeezed her hand tighter. Owen's team lost spectacularly, 7-2, but Owen managed an assist that he talked about the entire drive home. Victoria had driven separately but followed them back, and the three of them ended up in Nathan's kitchen making grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup, because Owen declared it was perfect post-game food. Can Victoria stay for dinner? Owen asked, already setting 3 places at the table. You have years to figure it out, and I bet your mom would be proud of you for asking questions and being curious. That's how all good scientists start. Did your dad get to see you become successful? The question was innocent. But Nathan saw Victoria flinch. She recovered quickly, though, her voice steady when she answered. No, he died when I was 12. But I think about him sometimes when I'm working on hard problems. Wonder if he'd be proud. Wonder what advice he'd give. Do you think he would be proud? I hope so. I work really hard. Sometimes too hard according to my therapist, but I think he'd understand that he worked hard, too. Owen considered this with his characteristic seriousness. I think Mommy would be proud of Dad for not being sad all the time anymore, for smiling real smiles instead of sad smiles. Victoria's eyes found Nathan's through the kitchen window. I think she would be too. They spent the afternoon in the backyard despite the December cold. Owen showing Victoria his collection of interesting rocks and explaining his theories about why some clouds looked like animals. Nathan brought out hot chocolate, and they sat on the back steps watching Owen chase a squirrel with the determination of someone who'd forgotten squirrels were faster than 8-year-olds. "He's amazing," Victoria said quietly. "Curious and kind, and so much smarter than he probably realizes. He gets that from Sarah. The curiosity, the kindness." Nathan wrapped his hands around his mug. "I worry sometimes that he doesn't remember enough about her. He was so young when she died. 5 is too young to build lasting memories. But he has you to help him remember, to tell stories, to keep her present without making her a ghost." "Is that what I'm doing? Keeping her present?" Victoria turned to look at him. "You're honoring her. There's a difference. A ghost haunts. A memory accompanies. You're letting Owen remember his mother while still moving forward. That's not easy." Nathan wanted to kiss her right there on his back steps with Owen 20 feet away chasing wildlife. But he settled for taking her hand again, the gesture becoming familiar. "What are we doing?" he asked. "Really, this whole whatever this is. I think we're building something," Victoria said slowly, carefully, without a clear blueprint, but with good intentions. "That sounds terrifying." "It is terrifying, but it's also kind of wonderful." Owen returned breathless and unsuccessful in his squirrel pursuit. "Can Victoria come to dinner tomorrow, too? We could make spaghetti. I'm really good at stirring sauce." Nathan looked at Victoria, letting her make the call. She smiled. "I'd love to,